Welcome to another episode of Globetrotting 5. I'm Rudranil Ghosh, and in this episode, we are going to talk about the recent elections in Bangladesh. It can be described as landmark polls. Bangladesh just held its first election after the Sheikh Hasina government's ouster in August 2024. In these polls, unsurprisingly, it was the BNP or the Bangladesh Nationalist Party that secured a huge mandate. In fact, Bangladesh Nationalist Party now commands two-thirds majority in Bangladesh's parliament. The other formation in these polls, that is the Jamaat-led 11-party coalition, will now be part of the opposition. As many of you will know, that the Awami League party of Sheikh Hasina had been suspended in the run-up to these polls, and therefore Awami League couldn't participate in these polls as a political party. In a sense, the election this time was between the BNP and the Jamaat-led 11-party alliance. So we see a new two-party system coming up in Bangladesh, with BNP taking the lead or the pole position and the Jamaat playing second fiddle and actually emerging as the lead opposition. This, however, can throw very interesting possibilities. Yes, for the moment, BNP is in pole position in Bangladesh. It is the primary party. However, the Jamaat, which will occupy the opposition benches in the new parliament, it could possibly, in the not so distant future, join the BNP and enter government. In fact, I will not rule out this possibility at all. There is a very good chance that a year or two down the road, that Jamaat might want to be part of the BNP-led government and take ministries, in this government, because who doesn't want power? And if that happens, then Bangladesh will be back to a situation where there will be no opposition. Remember, this is not something that Bangladesh is unfamiliar with, because even during Sheikh Hasina's Awami government, there were several years where there was no opposition to speak of. In fact, in some of those years, we had the ridiculous situation of the opposition, the officially designated opposition, actually being part of the Awami government and having ministers in the Awami government. So, not having opposition formations in the parliament is not something new in the context of Bangladeshi politics. So do not rule out the possibility of Jamaat actually joining the BNP somewhere down the road. And well, remember, the two have allied together. I mean, they have been each other's allies in the past, and the cadre of the two parties, especially their student wings, they work very well at the grassroots level. So don't rule out, mark my words, don't rule out the possibility of Jamaat and BNP coming together sometime in the not so distant future. But these election results actually pose a test for two political formations. Number one, the newly created NCP, which is the party of the student leaders of the August 2024 movement that ousted Sheikh Hasina. So the NCP now has a big challenge before it, because some of its leaders got elected in these polls, and now they have to not only perform in parliament but also strengthen the NCP and grow the NCP. Now, this is going to be a huge challenge, because it's one thing to lead a protest movement. It's quite something else to be part of administration or part of parliament and actually deliver for your constituency, and at the same time grow your party. So NCP, I don't know. I mean, whether they'll be able to do that, whether they'll be able to actually become a third force in the current Bangladeshi polity. is something that only time will tell, because this is going to be a very, very challenging task for the NCP and the student leaders who have been elected this time. The other challenge, of course, is for the Awami League. Now, as I mentioned, Awami League could not contest these polls as a political party because it was suspended by the interim administration of Mohammad Yunus. However, that doesn't mean that the Awami League does not have support in Bangladesh. It doesn't mean that Awami League doesn't have leaders in Bangladesh. Yes, its main leader or leader in chief, Sheikh Hasina, is in India. She has taken sort of asylum in India. But there are Awami leaders in Bangladesh right now, and they have gone quiet, because of the circumstances. But that doesn't mean that they can't, if they want to. It doesn't mean that they can't, revive the Awami League. If the circumstances are conducive, there is a good chance that these leaders can come together. The remaining Awami leaders in Bangladesh, they can come together and revive the Awami League, because they have support. They have support in Bangladeshi society. But what they would need is the go ahead or the green light from Sheikh Hasina. Whether she is willing to provide that green light sitting here in Delhi right now, that is something that remains to be seen, because it's quite possible that she too will wait for the opportune moment to tell the Awami leaders in Bangladesh that, okay, now is the time for you to assert yourself, to organize yourself, and revive the party. Again, time will tell whether that happens or not. But I firmly believe that this is not the end of the road for Awami League. The party can revive itself. Look at how Jamaat revived itself. Jamaat was banned by the Awami League, but the party endured. The party survived. And when it got the opportunity, when circumstances became favorable for the Jamaat, it turned things around. And today, look at the performance of the Jamaat. It is the main opposition party. So if Jamaat was able to survive and keep its support base intact, there is no reason that the Awami can't do the same. But what is the big worry from these results? The big worry, according to me, is that now we have a situation where you have the BNP in government, or leading the government, and you have the Jamaat, which is the main opposition, and you have the NCP and these other smaller parties. But overall, if you look at the political situation in Bangladesh today, there is a clear absence of a secular, truly secular force. Awami League at least presented itself as a secular party. Now, it's debatable whether it was really secular or not, but at least it professed secularism. It reintroduced secularism into the Bangladeshi constitution. So it publicly and constitutionally upheld secularism. Whether in practice it was secular is something that can be debated. But yes, it stood for secularism. The BNP, the Jamaat, and the NCP leaders, I don't think they can be associated with secularism. And in fact they are very clear that they don't want to be secular, because they see secularism as a sort of hypocrisy, and they would rather take a religious or a nationalist position than be branded as secular. So that is their politics. There are degrees among them, of course. BNP has a certain position. Jamaat is more right wing. You sort of far right wing. So they have more conservative positions on this. But yeah, but overall, the politics of Bangladesh has moved to the right, and that creates anxieties for secular minded people, for intellectuals, Bangladeshi intellectuals, and for the minority community in Bangladesh, the minority communities rather in Bangladesh. There are serious worries and concerns for them, uh, because of this rightward shift in Bangladeshi policy. And you know it's possible, given the track record in history, it's possible that the freedom and the space that was afforded to intellectuals and minorities in Bangladesh under the Awami regime will get progressively squeezed, or progressively narrower for them. So, so these anxieties now come up because of this rightward shift in Bangladeshi polity. Finally, the main question that everyone is asking is that what happens now to India Bangladesh relations? Because, as you know, after Sheikh Hasina's ouster, there was a clear anti India sentiment in Bangladesh, because Hasina was seen as being propped up by India, and therefore the people of Bangladesh associated her with India, rightly or wrongly, associated her with India. And this anti-India sentiment is what sort of uh, you know drove or added fuel to the anti-Hasina movement in August 2024. And then once Hasina was removed and Mohammad Yunus interim government came in, you had the student leaders associated with the interim government making all sorts of strident, belligerent comments about India, about India's northeast as well, sort of threatening to take over India's northeast, break away India's northeast. So all kinds of crazy statements were made by some of the leaders associated with the interim administration of Mohammad Yunus. Now that the elections are done and BNP under Tariq Rahman, Khalida Zia's late Khalida Zia's son, Tariq Rahman, under his leadership, now BNP has come to power, and it has received a decisive mandate. Now things should ideally stabilize. Like, the time for politicking and rhetoric in Bangladesh should now end, and BNP and others should get down to the business of governance. Remember, like, along with these polls, there was a referendum that also happened. This referendum sort of sought the Bangladeshi public's support for some wide-ranging changes in Bangladesh's constitutional operation as well as administration. In fact, it's an 80-point, very very detailed and voluminous reform package. Let's call it a reform package that was put to a referendum, and that has been passed. And it included things like term limits for the prime minister, increasing women's representation in parliament. It also called for creation of an upper house in the Bangladeshi parliament. So it's a very very vast and wide-ranging, detailed reform package. That was put to the referendum, which has been passed. Now it remains to be seen that how the new BNP government, which is coming in, how they take this reform package of the referendum, how they take it forward. So whether all the points, all the 80 points are implemented, or will some of them be implemented, some of them won't be implemented. Now it's up to the incoming BNP government to decide how to go about it. So all that task, all that huge uh, work now remains in front of the government. So the rhetoric and the politicking should now stop, and everyone in Bangladesh should get down to the business of governance and implementing the reform package that was passed in the referendum. But the relationship with India has to be repaired by both New Delhi and Dhaka, because the two need each other. Let's face it, because we are hostages of geography. India is Bangladesh's largest neighbor. We have an extensive border. We have cultural ties, historic ties. So all that is known, that India and Bangladesh are sort of joined at the hip by geography, and so to have a situation where India and Bangladesh are constantly bickering or sniping at each other, or engaging in shadow boxing, that is not helpful. That is not helpful for regional stability, that is not helpful for regional security, and it will only allow third party forces to fish in troubled waters. So we've already seen how the period of the interim government led by Mohammad Yunus saw a sudden uptick in activity between Dhaka and Islamabad, and we had several visits from Islamabad to Dhaka of military personnel, military officers, intelligence officers, and there were many parlays between people of the interim administration in Dhaka and Pakistani government. So there were a lot of these parlays, and that really sort of concerned India, because India is wary of Pakistan trying to sort of use Bangladesh as a second front against India. Plus, there is the China factor, because there is a strategic tension between India and China as well, and of course, in recent times, publicly New Delhi and Beijing appear to be sort of thawing their relationship and trying to improve their relationship, but strategically, New Delhi's and Beijing's interests are not exactly congruent, and so there is this worry that Bangladesh could also be used by China as strategic leverage against India. So India wants good relations with Bangladesh to prevent any untoward things happening to India itself. So it wants good relations with Dhaka. It wants better coordination, so that New Delhi's security concerns are taken care of. New Delhi's concerns vis-a-vis the northeast are taken care of, because the insurgency in the northeast was a serious concern for New Delhi, and the BNP government between 2001 and 2006, I should say BNP Jamaat government between 2001 and 2006, saw India-Bangladesh ties really deteriorate, and at that time there were several northeast insurgent groups that were operating out of Bangladeshi soil. it was Sheikh Hasina's government, which came to power in 2008-2009, that removed all these insurgent groups from Bangladeshi soil and said that Bangladeshi soil will not be used for any kind of anti-India activity or activity against any other country. So she removed all the insurgent groups operating from Bangladeshi soil. So so she did all that. So that was a huge plus for India-Bangladesh relationship in the Hasina tenure. Now it remains to be seen whether the new incoming BNP government will stick to that and be sensitive about India's security concerns, or will it try to play this game with China and Pakistan to somehow squeeze India, or try to sort of gain leverage against India, and particularly leverage vis-a-vis India's northeast region, which is very, very sensitive for New Delhi. If that happens, again, ties will continue to deteriorate, and that is not going to be good for either New Delhi or Dhaka. So Tariq Rahman, the presumptive Prime Minister of Bangladesh, should seriously think about the situation. Should seriously think about whether good relations with India will benefit Dhaka, or turbulent relations with India will benefit Dhaka. So this is something that he needs to deeply think about, and one assumes that he will do the right thing and pursue good, mutually beneficial relationships with India, because India and Bangladesh need each other for trade, for connectivity, for transit. India needs Bangladesh to have a successful Act East policy. Bangladesh needs India for transit and trade to the rest of South Asia and beyond. Good relations between the two countries will have tremendous mutual benefits. So Tariq Rahman should think about positive ties with India, and leaving behind a positive legacy for India Bangladesh relations, because if he gets into this game of strategic leverage, obtaining strategic leverage against India, or settling scores against India, things are going to go from bad to worse. So one hopes that good sense prevails in both New Delhi and Dhaka, because New Delhi also needs to realize that now it's a new administration in Bangladesh, so things have to start from scratch. You cannot keep looking back at the Hasina regime. The Hasina regime today is gone. You have to sort of get over that and deal with the incoming BNP regime. So New Delhi also has to recalibrate, reset, and meet Dhaka halfway. Hope that happens. With that, I would like to end this episode of Globetrotting 5. See you in the next one.